Hi, gorgeous Scorpio. This is your astrology reading for the month of December. Not December, for November. I don't know what I'm trying to push you a whole month ahead. What's wrong with me? Anyway, this is for the month of November. Now, I will say right off the bat, you're definitely going through some resurrection. You're going through some rebirthing, some resurrection. Life, death, rebirth, reincarnation of self in a form is what I'm getting a lot of. Regenerations, like a regeneration, start of self, transformational healing. Some of it is coming in professional careers and responsibilities. Some of it is coming in karmic lessons. Some of it is just simply in your self-awareness is what I'm being told. Some of it's your honor, your reputation. But definitely some of it, again, is coming in the karmic debts and subconscious coming into light. Anything else? Everybody's getting some heart-to-head communication going on. That's kind of coming in across the board. But that makes sense because Mercury's in retrograde and Mercury is communication. Wow. What was that? Some of you are having some issues with siblings. Some sibling rivalry. Or lying to yourself. Maybe about what's up close and personal. And you're overcoming it, you're seeing it, you're acknowledging it. Overcoming some grief, sorrow, shame, blame within relationships. Grief, sorrow, shame, and blame that you've been holding on to. But Scorpio, you guys are all about transformation anyway. And you're having a double new moon cycle taking place. And I say new moon, because as we ended October, we had a new moon in Scorpio. But it's not a one-time cycle, because you're going to have a second new moon that's taking place at the end of the month in November on the 26th. So it's kind of been like a long drawn out process of this cycle, because it's going to renew. So what you may have thought as you entered November, you're going to be seeing the critiquing of whatever that new moon is trying to bring to you. And you're definitely going to be critiquing it through Mercury's self-communication. And when Mercury is in retrograde, we have, we can't help it. We're a little bit more self-centered. We don't mean to be narcissistic, but we're a little more self-centered because Mercury is in communication. It is our communication, and it is only communicating with us. And for you, Scorpio, this is your self-awareness, your physical body, your personality, your appearance, your view of life, your identification, your image, your very core energy, the illumination and shine of who and what you are, how you view yourself as well as how everybody else views you. Coming into a new beginning, a new self-worth, value, self-esteem. Even though that's technically the second house, with it being a new moon on a double new moon in Scorpio, I feel like it's going to be projecting right on into that second house of self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Getting into a new level of authenticity. But it's going to be touching base of the awareness, the personality, the appearances, your image, your physical body, and parts of these energies that need to be tweaked in order to help project you forward through the next, truthfully, 6 years. We're definitely going to be seeing changes over the next 3 years. And they're starting now, that are going to actually project the 6, which will project the next 20. But you are definitely dealing with some hidden secrets you have from yourself, with secrets of grief, sorrow, shame, and blame. And they're coming up No longer going to be hidden self-deceptions. The new moon and the full moon, more or less, are going to be pushing them forward for you to have to see to make those corrections. Is there anything else? Yeah, I'm not saying that one. I'm still not saying that one. Okay. But this is definitely a resurrection process, a regeneration process, a rebirthing process for you as an overall, for your very core. And you're definitely going to be noticing it all month. Now, let me go over what the main planets are that are moving, and then we'll hit it every house. I never go over all the aspects because, seriously, there's just not enough time to go over all the aspects for the month. I'm going to give you the lowdown of what's really going on in each house so that you're aware of what you're feeling and what you're going through, and help you adjust your thinking process, your mental and your emotional process of how to make that work for you in healing ways as you move forward. Now, as I said, Mercury is in retrograde. It went in retrograde as of the, or it will be going in retrograde as of the 31st of Halloween. But it will be in retrograde right up until the 20th of November. So like I said, that self-sent, I keep getting tongue-tied, which means for you guys, if I keep getting tongue-tied, this means watch what you're saying. You're spitting shit out way too fast. You maybe aren't getting all the, because if I'm talking, see, it's happening right now. This is the way that the spirit works with me. We're talking about Mercury and communication, being a little bit more self-centered in your self-awareness. So you may be jumping the gun a little too fast this month. You may be assuming a little too fast this month and ready to just state your will, state what you need, say what you think must be done, and just throw that shit out there. And this is actually, I'm being told, in some cases, it's going to cause judgment on you, whether it's family judgment or just judgment. You need to ground yourself, stay more physically grounded, slow down, and be more aware, because I feel like you're going to be just spitting shit out, and then you may want to stick your foot in your mouth because you may be spitting it out without all the details. And like I said, Mercury's in retrograde in your very core of your personality, your awareness, your appearance. And if I can't seem to get anything out of my mouth, it's because they're trying to say, slow down. You're trying to put it all out too fast. And you're probably being a little bit cocky about it and saying it a little too quick because you think yourself assured of the situation, but you might be finding out that you're not. So you might want to be a little bit low back, a little bit more pulled back, and really view what's going on around you as well as your own awareness. And they're saying, especially when you're getting into creativity, into deliveries, into details, and into phone calls. See, I told you. Into your very communication. They're telling you slow down your communication because you're too quick to be off with the draw this month. And your communication, if you don't watch it, is going to actually backfire against you, and you're going to have to double work to pull it forward come the end of the month when Mercury comes out of retrograde. This is a self-centered time, so you're pulling more into yourself, but you're actually probably not viewing the situation going on around you and seeing all the details or the truths. You're viewing things how you want to view them. And that necessarily won't work. You need to be more open-minded and more big-eyed, more view the whole truth before you just start throwing, as I like to call it, the word vomit out. All right, with that being said, on the 1st, Venus moves into Sagittarius with Jupiter and Ceres. On the 8th, we'll go over what's going on in each house when I get to the houses. I'm just telling you what's moving so you're aware. Venus moves into Sagittarius on the 1st. On the 8th, Pallas moves into Sagittarius with Jupiter and Ceres. But Ceres will only be there for part of the month. On the 4th, you have Ura, which is moving into Libra. Libra is definitely coming into the beginning of the end of a cycle that's going to take truthfully, the next 2 to 4 years for that cycle to completely, come to an end and a new one to begin. When we get into Libra, I'll discuss that. On the 12th, you have the full moon. The full moon is taking place in Taurus, and it has Uranus here moving towards Eris, and Vesta is there. We'll go over that again. On the 17th, you have Ceres, which is moving into Capricorn with Pluto and Saturn, and going to change that energy of Pluto and Saturn drastically, okay? Because Ceres is the threefold theory. She's also karma. Now, you have on the 19th, Mars moves into your sign of Scorpio. Mercury will go direct on the 20th. On the 22nd, the Sun is moving into Sagittarius. On the 25th, Venus is moving into Capricorn. So Venus, our very sensitivities, is spending absolutely no time hanging out and playing in Sagittarius with Jupiter and with Ceres, but it's going to be following Ceres as they move into Capricorn. So the sensitivities are going to be on high alert, and we'll pay attention to where they are as I get into each house. On the 26th, you have the new moon in your sign. And then on the 27th, we have Neptune, which is going direct. And that Neptune going direct has a lot to do with what is going on with Capricorn's Pluto and with Libra. Because that has to do with Halley's Comet in truth. And where it is on its orbit and how it's entering another orbit anyway. So I'll throw all of that at you as we get into it. Now, like I said, for you, I really feel, yep, it's talking to Pluto. Not Pluto, Lilith. It's talking to Lilith and Neptune. You are definitely, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would explain why they said creativity. You have Lilith and Neptune in your 4th house. But that 4th house, no, your 5th house. In your 5th house. But that 5th house is going to be speaking to that 1st house for most of the month. Okay? Now, this is your self-awareness of what's going on around you, being more clear of self, knowing when self is jumping the gun, because like I said, Mercury is in retrograde. You're going to be viewing things from your own point of view a lot, and you're not seeing other people's point of view, or maybe even the truth. And this is going to project back on how not only they're seeing you, but how you're bringing yourself forward. So you want to slow down and really pay attention to this, because you have a double new moon coming at the end of the month. The sun is here. The sun is here and Mercury is here. So you are definitely being illuminated, but are you illuminating yourself the way you want to be? Like I said, Mercury's in retrograde. You could very easily be illuminating yourself in ways that you don't even mean to and that you don't desire to because of that Mercury retrograde. You don't want to come off so self-centered that you seem narcissistic, okay? The idea is to, be aware of your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem, your awareness itself, your physical body, your personality, your appearance, your view of life, your identification. But on a deeper level, this is how you illuminate self. This is how you illuminate your authenticity. And if you're just illuminating from a narcissistic point of view because of that self-centeredness with Mercury in retrograde, then you're not seeing the bigger picture here. So this is why you need to slow down. It is definitely having a conversation with the 5th house. It's asking you to get right with your inner child, to allow that inner child to bring out that creativity, to allow you to see things from a different point of view, to bring the pursuit of pleasure into the pursuit of you. It's asking you to, gamble on yourself, but not so mentally that you're not doing it from the heart. See, because the fifth house is also our inner child, and our inner child doesn't know all this business bullshit. The inner child doesn't know all the hard shit that we have to go through as humans. It just wants to play and have fun. So it's asking you to give yourself a break for fun. Give yourself a break for, enjoyment in life. And as you're being able to do that, you're going to find a new level of creativity in the very core of who and what you are, which if you slow down enough and allow it to happen, it will help you to find the self that you're wanting to put out the way that you should be putting it out, instead of doing it so quick that you're not really truly realizing what you're putting out. Because like I said, with Mercury in retrograde in the core of who and what you are, you could easily be putting out information against what you really want and making it seem like you're very narcissistic or self-centered. So it's something for you to pay attention to until Mercury goes direct on the 20th. And then the sun is moving out of Scorpio on the 22nd, and you're going to have a new moon. I'm just saying, you don't want to take 5 steps backwards so that you have to take 10 forward and barely have moved forward. Slow down enough so that you can actually view the truths. So as that new moon comes at the end of November, you're able to move forward in a truthful, healthy, right direction. All right, now as you get into the second house, this is for you where Scorpio, this is Sagittarius. This is where Jupiter, this is where Venus, this is where Pallas, and Ceres are. Ceres is going to move out halfway through the month. Then so will Venus. Venus is spending no time playing around in your second house. This is your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem. She is going to sting you if you are not... Okay, Venus, I don't put Venus as love. Venus is moving in on top of Jupiter and on top of Ceres, which is karmic energy, which is speaking to you about where you're nurturing your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem, versus where you're neglecting your self-worth, your self-value, your self-esteem, and how you create and spend money because of who and what you are, by coming into the true power of who and what you are. Now, Venus coming in is going to be touching base on where the energies are positive and where they're sour. And I do mean sour. Because Venus is sensitivities for our body, for our mind, our spirit, our body, mind, and spirit, more or less. Venus talks to you about the very physical body, what feels good, what's healthy, what's not, what makes you enjoy things, what hurts. Like if you put your hand in an oven at 365 degrees and you grab a pan with your own bare hands, that shit hurts. That's Venus saying, don't do that shit. She speaks to the body about what physically makes you feel better and what physically makes you hurt, and emotionally and mentally, both. So anything she's going to be speaking to you about is going to be teaching you how to love yourself better, or where you're not loving yourself right because of self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Pallas is going to be teaching you how to strategically find your way of bringing that self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem forward. So you need to listen to those sensitivities, not necessarily act, but listen, because Jupiter is bringing higher knowledge and abundance to the very idea of this, up until the 16th and 17th when Ceres moves out. That's teaching you how to nurture yourself from where you've been neglecting your self-worth, self-value, and self-esteem. But Ceres is about to move into your third house, your very communication. That explains why I just couldn't see it. Everything was coming out like so. Because when Ceres moves into your communication house, which is your neighbors, your siblings, your short journeys, your messages, your transportation, intellect, details, phone calls, trivia, text messages, gossip. It's the small pieces of information that can make or break the situation. Ceres is going to be moving in on top of Pluto and on top of Saturn, halfway through the month, 16th, 17th, and coming into this, teaching you where that communication, which remember, Mercury is in retrograde. Mercury rules that third house, even though for you, the third house is Sagittarius. So you very righteously think that you communicate very well. However, communication's in retrograde. So you may be realizing pieces of your communication where you're not communicating as well as you think you are, or where you need to, where you're not nurturing it properly, where you are in neglect of seeing the truths. And that communication can either work for you or against you. And it all depends on if you're slowing down enough to see the communication for what it is. Is it word vomit? Are you throwing it out before you know the details? And make sure that you are in right areas of this. And are you actually communicating with yourself truthfully about what is going on? Because like I said, you're going to be acknowledging it as it moves in. You have rules, walls, and boundaries in that third house with Sagittarius. Very quick and easy to up and go with the flow, but that doesn't mean that everybody else is. Doesn't mean that everybody else is just as quick to go with the flow and that you're sending out the proper information. You might be sending it out a little too harsh. You might be not sending it out at all. Make sure that you're slowing down to really pay attention to your communication this month. It will make or break everything for you, and I'm warning you. You have Pluto and Saturn here, which is saying this is something that you're supposed to be learning, of a rebirthing of self, of how to communicate properly to yourself as well as to others. With Sirius coming in, it's the threefold. So if you aren't learning the lesson, Sirius is definitely going to give you the smackdown in the threefold in this energy. This is why I'm giving it to you so harsh. Now, when you go into the fourth house, you don't have anything there, which is actually not good or bad. This just says you're already in your normal energy of your home, the home of who and what you are, your inner emotional security. But this is the roots of who and what you are. And as you come into different levels of your truth, your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, and how you communicate with yourself and outwardly, it will also either strengthen that inner emotional security, or it's going to make it come down and really work against you. And that really is going to get, again, I cannot state enough that that is going to be, Spirit is saying you need to have sacrifice and commitment in your communication this month. Pay attention. It is your responsibility to have that proper sacrifice and commitment in this, in your communication, because it will deal with where your inner emotional security is going to take you. Plain and simple is what I'm being given from Spirit. Now, your fifth house happens to be where your creative pursuit of pleasure is, where your inner child is, that allows you to enjoy life and play. But it's also in Pisces. Okay, this is Neptune energy right now. So you're very compassionate, you're very loving, and you're very magical. But what we have going on right now is Neptune is about to go direct at the end of the month. So Neptune is going to be throwing nostalgia your way to see if it trips you up. It's going to be throwing old ideas your way, because there is a message of something that you need to learn to maneuver, to overcome, in something about that nostalgia of your inner child, your inner creativity, your inner enjoyment, about being able to give yourself the pursuit of pleasure. What is standing in the way of allowing your inner child to breathe and allow it to help bring forth the true part of who and what you are that maybe you aren't experiencing or giving to the world to experience, because you haven't quite found it. You haven't quite connected with that inner child. There might be pieces here of Neptune that have you have ideas that you may think that you're only this way or you're only that way, that your inner child is capable of this or it's capable of that, or it's not capable of this or that. And the reason I'm putting it this way is because, like I said, Neptune has been with Lilith trying to speak to you about your sacral chakra, how you feel about yourself, your passion, your action, your aggression. But this also has to do with Halley's Comet, because Halley's Comet is coming through in its orbit where it's starting to connect with Neptune's orbit. And this is definitely speaking of looking at those negative points of you and learning from them. Those negative ideas of your inner child, your inner creativity, where you haven't been able to find the true enjoyment. It's fake enjoyment. And where you're not really connecting to the depths of that inner child and creativity that connects it to your true authenticity. And you're going to be experiencing this all month long, because Neptune has its little messages with Lilith and Halley's Comet as they kind of start to twist past one another at that point, that are going to be having that conversation with you about your inner child, your inner pursuit of pleasure. It is about making sure that you're truly getting right with going after what you want and understanding what you really want, to a depths of really being able to go after it and get it. But you need to see the bigger picture of how. And this is what you're being given. The 6th house is Virgo. This is your everyday daily tasks, your everyday mundane tasks. I say all the time that the mundane really is not mundane. It's more powerful than we think it is. Just because we do it every day does not mean that it's not important. Everyday tasks, your daily work, your diet, your health, but it's also the people, the places, and the things that are in your life on an everyday basis. These people, places, and things have energy that you are consuming, and are they healthy for you or not? Are these routines healthy for you or not? Because you have Chiron here, which is the wounded healer, but you also have at the other side of Aries, you have Medusa, which is trouble, toil, strife, and injustice. So where is injustice been served? Trouble, toil, and strife within these people, places, and things of energy that you consume every single day without even realizing, because it's mundane. Where is it working for you on a healthy daily basis, and where is it working against you? These are the things that you're going to be looking for, so you know where to shift and tweak your routines so that it is healthy, or where to shift and tweak the people, places, and things that are in those routines. Because it's a beginning point. It's a perfect way to start new routines, but you with Chiron here, but making sure that you've done it from learning from what has been trouble, toil, and strife working against you for injustice in the past. Now, as you come into the 7th house, is your relationship zone. It's where marriage, partnerships, business contracts, the relationship zone is anything that you care about. It is your people, places, it is your people in your life, your family, your children, your parents, your loved ones, your, like I said, your spouse. But it's also your working environment. It's even open enemies. Anything you care enough to care about, you have a relationship with. Okay? And these relationships happen to be asking you, because this is where the full moon is going to take place for you on the 12th in the relationship zone. And while there is spousal relationships, children relationships, like with your children or parents, or a working environment, a contract business environment, it won't matter. It's still relationships. So what's happening here is Uranus is in retrograde going towards Eris, asking you where you haven't been able to be your true depths, your true soul fire of your independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom, your inventive self, where you haven't been able to bring that inventive self and that soul fire up and forward within these relationships. Where are you not able to stand out the way that you want to? Where are you not quite capable? And it's because it's moving towards Eris, towards that injustice, towards your independence, individuality, uniqueness, freedom, self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. Your inventive self is coming closer to Medusa, Eris, which is trouble, toil, strife, and injustice. So they're butting heads within these relationships. And then it's asking you within the relationships, where are you not getting that? Where are you still holding on to the injustice in the past? And you're allowing that past idea to redirect the new. Where are you accidentally bringing illness forward into a new relationship? And how are you going to see that so you can make the proper changes in healthy ways? Now, it's going to shut off in just a second, so please come back for part 2. That's going to be the relationships and the rules, all the way down to the 12th house, the 8th through the 12th house. I love you guys. Come back for part 2.